The words hit me like a punch to the gut, delivered with a smile so sweet it could have rotted teeth. "I booked myself a little getaway," Jessica announced, twirling around our kitchen with an energy I hadn't seen from her in months. "A girls-only cruise to the Caribbean, 7 days of pure relaxation." I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing quarterly reports, studying my wife of 6 years as she practically bounced on her toes. The enthusiasm was unusual. Jessica had never been the spontaneous vacation type. She was the woman who planned our anniversary dinners 3 months in advance and color-coded our shared calendar. "That's sudden," I said carefully, keeping my voice neutral. "When did you decide this?" "Oh, you know how work's been lately. I've been so stressed with the new project, and when Melissa mentioned this cruise deal..." She waved her hand dismissively, already moving toward the fridge to pour herself a glass of wine. "I just thought, why not? I deserve a little fun, don't I?" Melissa. I knew Jessica's co-workers well enough, and Melissa Chen wasn't exactly the cruise type either. She was the accounting manager who brought salads to office parties and left precisely at 5 every day to pick up her kids from daycare. "Of course you deserve fun," I replied, closing my laptop. "When is it?" "Next week." I know it's short notice, but that's what made it such a good deal. Jessica's smile stretched wider, but something about it felt rehearsed. "It's just 5 days, really. Fly out Monday, cruise Tuesday through Saturday, fly back Sunday." "Next week?" I repeated. "Jess, we have the Hendersons' anniversary party on Saturday." "Oh, shoot, I completely forgot. But they'll understand, right? I mean, this is such a rare opportunity for me to just breathe. You know how hard I've been working." I did know. Jessica had been working late 3 nights a week for the past 2 months, coming home exhausted and distracted. She'd been stressed about the new marketing campaign for their biggest client, constantly checking her phone and taking calls at odd hours. Or so she'd told me. "Who else is going?" I asked, standing up to join her in the kitchen. "Just the girls from work. Melissa, obviously, and Sarah from HR, and I think Katie from design might join us." She took a large sip of wine, not quite meeting my eyes. "It'll be so nice to just disconnect, you know? No work stress, no responsibilities, just sun and margaritas and girl talk." The way she said it sounded like she'd practiced the words. There was something too polished about her explanation, too perfectly casual. "Sounds amazing," I said, and meant it. If Jessica needed time away to decompress, I supported that. We'd been together long enough that I trusted her completely. "You should definitely go." Relief flooded her face so quickly that I almost missed it. "Really? You're not upset?" "Why would I be upset? You work hard, you deserve a vacation, I'll just miss you." She set down her wine glass and threw her arms around me, her body melting against mine with genuine warmth for the first time in weeks. "I love you so much, Mike. You're the best husband ever." As I held her, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo, I felt the knot of tension in my chest ease. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe she really did just need some time away with the girls. But that night, as Jessica hummed happily while packing her cruise clothes, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The first warning sign came the next morning. Jessica's phone buzzed during breakfast, and when she glanced at the screen, her entire body went rigid. "Work?" I asked, buttering my toast. "What?" "Oh yes, work." She quickly flipped the phone face down on the table. "Just boring stuff about the campaign?" But I'd seen her expression before she hid the screen. It wasn't the look of someone reading about quarterly projections or client meetings. It was the look of someone reading something that made their pulse quicken. The second sign came that evening. Jessica had always been casual about her phone around me, leaving it on the counter while she showered, asking me to check her messages while she was driving. But suddenly, it was glued to her side. She took it to the bathroom, kept it face down during dinner, and I caught her typing responses under the table while we watched Netflix. "Everything okay?" I asked during a particularly intense texting session that lasted through an entire episode of our show. "Oh yes, sorry, just coordinating trip details with the girls." The girls. She kept mentioning the girls but never specified who beyond Melissa. When I'd asked about Sarah from HR, Jessica had looked confused for a moment before remembering she'd mentioned her. The third sign was the shopping trip. Jessica had never been the type to buy new clothes for vacation. She was practical, sensible. She wore the same black swimsuit every summer and packed the same sundresses for every trip. But on Thursday, she came home with 3 shopping bags and a secretive smile. "What did you get?" I asked, nodding toward the bags. "Just some new things for the cruise. I realized my swimsuits are all ancient." She clutched the bags protectively. Nothing exciting, but when she thought I wasn't looking, I saw her pull out a tiny red bikini that left almost nothing to the imagination. This wasn't a girls' trip purchase. This was a look sexy for someone specific purchase. The fourth sign was the most damning, the group chat that didn't exist. I knew Jessica's texting habits better than anyone. When she planned girls' nights or work events, her phone buzzed constantly with group messages. Who was bringing what, where to meet, what time to leave. Her phone would light up every few minutes with responses and emoji reactions and the constant chatter of women coordinating plans. But as the cruise approached, her phone stayed mysteriously quiet. The few messages she received came individually, and she always angled her screen away from me before responding. No group chat, no mass coordination, no excited planning messages from the girls. Just secretive individual texts that made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in months. By Friday night, as Jessica packed her new bikinis and whispered into her phone in the bathroom, I knew with cold certainty that this wasn't a girls' trip at all. The question was, what was I going to do about it? Saturday morning, Jessica left early for what she claimed was a pre-cruise manicure with Melissa. I waited exactly 15 minutes after her car disappeared down our street, then opened my laptop. Our shared Google account had been a convenience when we'd first moved in together. Shared calendars, shared photo storage, shared email for bills and household things. Over the years, we'd both grown lazy about maintaining separate digital lives. Jessica forwarded confirmation emails to our shared account out of habit, and I'd never thought twice about it. Until now. I opened Gmail and searched for anything cruise-related from the past month. What I found made my blood turn to ice. Royal Caribbean confirmation email. 7-day cruise to the Caribbean, departing Monday. 2 passengers, Jessica Harrison, David Chen. I stared at the name, my mind racing. David Chen worked in Jessica's company, but not in her department. He was in IT, a quiet guy in his 30s who I'd met exactly once at the company Christmas party. Married to a nice woman named Linda, father to 2 young kids. The booking had been made 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks of Jessica planning this spontaneous girls' trip. 6 weeks of lies. I scrolled through more emails, my hands shaking as pieces fell into place. Hotel confirmation for Sunday night before the cruise. 1 room, 2 guests. Flight confirmations, seats 12A and 12B. Passengers Jessica Harrison and David Chen. They'd booked everything together. Flights, hotels, cruise cabin. This wasn't an affair that had developed recently. This had been planned for over a month. But I kept digging, and what I found next was worse than the cruise booking. Jessica's Google Photos account, synced to our shared storage. Photos she'd taken but hadn't shared with me. Screenshots of text conversations. The messages went back 3 months. David, can't stop thinking about last night. Jessica, me neither. Mike is working late again tonight. David, I hate that we have to sneak around like this. Jessica, soon we won't have to. The cruise will give us time to figure things out. David, what are you going to tell Mike? Jessica, that it's just a girls' trip. He's so trusting, he'll never question it. David, I feel bad about lying to Linda too. Jessica, we're not hurting anyone as long as they don't know. After the cruise, we'll figure out how to handle everything. I scrolled through months of messages, each one a knife twist in my chest. They'd been meeting for lunch, staying late at the office together, planning their future while I worked late to provide for a marriage I thought was solid. The worst part wasn't the affair itself. It was how they talked about me. Jessica. Mike is so clueless. Last night he asked if I wanted to plan a vacation together this summer. I had to bite my tongue not to laugh. David. Does he suspect anything? Jessica. Mike? No way. He trusts me completely. Sometimes I think he's too nice for his own good. David. Lucky for us. Jessica. Yeah, lucky for us. Too nice for my own good. Clueless. They were laughing at me while I paid our mortgage and planned date nights and believed my wife when she said she was working late. I sat in our kitchen, in the house I'd worked 60-hour weeks to afford, reading about how my wife and her lover were planning their romantic getaway on my dime. Because of course Jessica had booked everything on our joint credit card. The rage that filled me wasn't hot and explosive. It was cold and calculating and absolutely lethal. Jessica thought I was too nice, too trusting, too clueless to figure out what was happening right under my nose. She was about to learn just how wrong she was. When Jessica came home from her manicure, I was exactly where she'd left me, sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop, apparently working on quarterly reports. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, kissing the top of my head. Her nails were indeed freshly manicured, painted a bright coral that matched the new bikini I'd seen her pack. "Productive," I said, not looking up from my screen. "How was your time with Melissa?" "Great. We're so excited for tomorrow I can barely sleep. I'm so ready to just relax and disconnect." Disconnect. Right. Disconnect from her marriage while connecting with David Chen in ways that would destroy two families. "I'm excited for you," I said, and meant it. Jessica was going to get exactly the trip she deserved. "You've been working so hard lately. You need this." She beamed at me, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with 8 years ago. Before the lies, before the betrayal, before she'd decided that too nice was something to exploit rather than cherish. "I'm going to miss you, though," she said, running her fingers through my hair. 7 whole days without my husband. "I'll miss you too," I replied, "but you'll be back before you know it." That night, as Jessica took a long shower and continued her secretive texting, I made my preparations. First, I called our bank. As joint account holders, I had every right to place a temporary freeze on our credit cards and accounts. I explained to the customer service representative that I'd noticed some suspicious activity and wanted to ensure our financial security while my wife was traveling. "We'll flag the accounts immediately, Mr. Harrison. Any attempted charges will be declined until you call to verify them." Perfect. Next, I accessed our shared credit card account online and downloaded 6 months of statements. Jessica's affair was documented in black and white. Expensive lunches at romantic restaurants, hotel charges from afternoons when she'd claimed to be in client meetings, purchases at lingerie stores I'd never benefited from. The evidence was overwhelming and damning. Then I composed 2 emails. The first went to Linda Chen, David's wife. I'd found her email address through the company directory. She worked part-time at a veterinary clinic across town. The subject line was simple: "About your husband's business trip." I scheduled both emails to send at 8 a.m. Monday morning, exactly when Jessica and David would be boarding their flight, when it would be too late for them to change their plans or cover their tracks. Finally, I researched divorce attorneys. I found the best one in the city, read reviews, checked their track record. I called and left a voicemail requesting a consultation for Tuesday morning. By the time Jessica emerged from the bathroom in her silk pajamas, I had systematically prepared for the destruction of her carefully planned deception. "You're up late," she observed, climbing into bed beside me. "Just finishing up some work. I want tomorrow to be completely free so I can see you off properly." She snuggled against me, and I felt her body relax as she assumed her lies had worked perfectly. "I love you, Mike," she whispered into the darkness. "I love you too," I replied. And in that moment, I realized it was true. I did love her. Or at least, I loved the woman I'd thought she was. The woman who would never have betrayed me so completely, so calculatedly, so cruelly. That woman was worth loving. The woman lying next to me, planning to spend the next week in another man's arms while I worked to pay her bills, was a stranger wearing my wife's face. And strangers don't deserve the protection of my love. Monday morning dawned clear and bright. Perfect weather for a Caribbean cruise. Jessica woke up humming, practically vibrating with excitement as she double-checked her packed suitcase. "I can't believe I'm actually doing this," she said, spinning in front of our bedroom mirror in a sundress I'd never seen before. "When was the last time I did something just for me?" "You deserve it," I said, watching her apply makeup with more care than she'd shown in months. "You've been working so hard." The irony wasn't lost on me. She was putting this much effort into her appearance for David Chen, while I got her tired, distracted attention at the end of each day. I drove her to the airport, playing the role of supportive husband one last time. At departures, I helped her with her luggage and kissed her goodbye. "Have the most amazing time," I said, holding her close. "Take lots of pictures." "I will. I'll text you when we land. Don't worry about checking in too much. Just focus on relaxing and having fun with the girls." Her smile was so bright it could have powered the airport. "I love you so much, Mike. Thank you for being so understanding." "I love you too, Jess." I watched her disappear through security, rolling her suitcase full of bikinis and lies toward her gate. She never looked back. 30 minutes later, I was in my car when my phone buzzed with a text. "Boarding now. Melissa is so excited she can barely sit still. I'll call you when we get to Miami. Melissa." Even in her final moments of deception, Jessica couldn't help but maintain the lie. I drove home and waited. At exactly 8 a.m., as Jessica and David's flight was taking off from Miami, my carefully crafted emails delivered their payloads. The first response came at 8:47 a.m., Linda Chen calling my cell phone. "Mr. Harrison, this is Linda Chen. I got your email." "I'm so sorry, Linda. I thought you deserved to know." "Is this real? These screenshots, these bookings? Is this actually happening?" "I'm afraid so. I found everything on our shared email account. They've been planning this for weeks." The sound she made was half sob, half rage. That bastard. That lying, cheating bastard. He told me he was going to a tech conference in Seattle. He even showed me the fake itinerary. "I'm sorry, I know this is devastating." "No, don't apologize. Thank you. Thank you for telling me the truth. I've suspected something was wrong for months, but every time I asked, he made me feel crazy for questioning him." "What are you going to do?" "I'm calling a lawyer today. And I'm calling his mother to pick up the kids, because when David gets back from his little vacation, he's going to find the locks changed and divorce papers waiting." The second response came from HR at 10:15 a.m. A formal email acknowledging receipt of my complaint and stating that an investigation would begin immediately. But the most satisfying response came at 2:30 p.m., just as Jessica and David were presumably settling into their cruise cabin. My phone rang with Jessica's number. "Mike, we made it safely. Miami is gorgeous and the ship is amazing. I wish you could see it." "I'm so glad you're having fun already. How's Melissa?" "She's great. Really excited. Listen, I should go. We're about to set sail and I want to get settled. But I love you. Love you too. Enjoy every minute." As soon as we hung up, I allowed myself a smile. Jessica was texting me from her romantic cruise with another man, maintaining her lies even as the bombs I'd planted were already exploding back home. The third call came at 4 p.m., Linda Chen again. "Mr. Harrison, I wanted to update you. I contacted David's office, and they confirmed he used vacation days for this trip, not business travel. And I found charges on our joint credit card for romantic dinners and hotel rooms going back months." "I'm sorry, Linda." "Don't be. I'm grateful. I also called my lawyer, and she says I have grounds for an at-fault divorce based on adultery. David's affair is going to cost him everything." "Good. There's something else. I called David's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I left him a message telling him exactly what I found and that he shouldn't bother coming home. When he turns his phone back on, he's going to get quite a shock. We both are. And Mr. Harrison, I hope your wife gets exactly what she deserves too." So did I. Thursday morning, day 4 of the cruise, my phone finally exploded. The first call came at 6 a.m., Jessica, her voice shrill with panic. Mike, something's wrong. Our credit card got declined yesterday when we tried to book an excursion, and when I called the bank, they said there's a freeze on our accounts." What? That's weird. Let me check. I made typing sounds on my laptop. Huh, that is strange. It shows a security freeze due to suspicious activity. What kind of suspicious activity? I don't know, it doesn't give details. Maybe someone tried to use our card number? I'll call them this morning and get it sorted out. This is a disaster. We're stuck on this ship with no way to pay for anything. She'd slipped, but in her panic, she didn't seem to notice. Don't worry, honey. I'm sure it's just a mistake. Do you have enough cash to get by until I fix it? Some, but not much. And Melissa's card is acting up too. I'll handle it today, I promise. Just try to enjoy the rest of your trip. This is ruining everything. She was crying now, real tears of frustration and fear. We planned this for so long, and now... Another slip. We had planned this, not the girls. Jess, calm down. It's just money. The important thing is that you're getting the relaxation you need. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm just stressed. I love you, Mike. Love you too. The second call came 2 hours later. This time, Jessica sounded genuinely terrified. Mike, something is really wrong. David from IT just came to my room looking completely panicked. He said his wife filed for divorce and somehow she knows about things that don't make sense. David from your company? What's he doing on your girls' cruise? The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Mike ... Jessica, what is David Chen doing on your girls' cruise? I can explain. I'm listening. It's not what you think. We're just friends, and he was having problems with his wife, and when I mentioned the cruise, he thought it might be good for him to get away too. So you lied to me. I didn't lie exactly, I knew you might not understand. Understand what, Jessica? That David and we've become close. But it's not an affair. We're just supporting each other through difficult times. The gaslighting was almost impressive. Even caught red-handed, she was still trying to minimize and deflect. How close? Mike, please, can we talk about this when I get home? I promise I can explain everything. No, let's talk about it now. Are you sleeping with David Chen? Another long silence. Jessica? Mike, are you sharing a room with David Chen? It's not what you think. What I think is that my wife has been lying to me for months, booked a romantic cruise with another man, and is now trying to convince me it's innocent. Am I wrong? She started crying again, but these weren't tears of frustration. These were tears of someone who'd finally been caught. I never meant for it to happen. It developed naturally. We were working late together and we connected and you decided to betray our marriage. I was going to tell you. After the cruise, David and I were going to figure out how to handle everything properly. Handle everything properly? Like divorcing your spouses properly? Like destroying 2 families properly? It's not like that. What's it like, Jessica? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been planning to leave me for months while letting me pay for your life and your affair. Please, Mike, we can work through this. It was a mistake. No, I said quietly. It was a choice, a series of choices, and now you get to live with the consequences. What do you mean? I mean, enjoy the rest of your cruise, Jessica. But when you get home, don't come to the house. Mike, please! I hung up. 30 seconds later, she called back. I let it go to voicemail. She called 6 more times that morning. I ignored them all. The voicemails Jessica left over the next 2 days were a masterclass in the stages of grief and manipulation. First came denial. Mike, please call me back. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Yes, David is here, but we're just friends supporting each other. Nothing inappropriate has happened. Then anger. You're being completely unreasonable. I made a mistake by not telling you David was coming, but that doesn't mean I'm having an affair. You're letting your paranoia destroy our marriage. Then bargaining. Please, Mike. I know this looks bad, but I swear on my mother's grave that David and I haven't crossed any lines. We've just been talking, and yes, maybe we've gotten a little too close emotionally, but we can fix this. Please just let me explain when I get home. Then depression. I understand why you're angry. I should have told you the truth from the beginning. I've made terrible choices and I'm so sorry. But please don't throw away 8 years of marriage over one mistake. Finally, a return to anger when she realized I wasn't going to answer. Fine. If you want to be childish and refuse to communicate like an adult, then that's on you. But don't you dare try to paint me as the villain here when you're the one who won't even listen to my side. But the most interesting voicemail came Friday afternoon, and it wasn't from Jessica. Mike, this is David Chen. Look, I know this is awkward, but Jessica is falling apart, and I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. Yes, we've gotten close, and yes, maybe we should have been more upfront about our friendship, but this isn't the affair you think it is. Jessica loves you, man. She talks about you all the time. Please just call her back so you two can work this out. David Chen, calling to tell me that my wife talks about me all the time while sharing his cruise cabin. The audacity was breathtaking. I saved every voicemail. My lawyer was going to find them very interesting. Meanwhile, the consequences continued to unfold at home. HR had officially placed both Jessica and David on administrative leave pending investigation. Their supervisor had called me twice more, trying to reach them. Apparently, someone had raised questions about expense reports and timesheets that didn't match their documented whereabouts. Linda Chen had filed for divorce and obtained a temporary restraining order requiring David to move out of their family home. She'd also frozen their joint accounts and filed a motion for emergency spousal support and child support. David's going to come home to nothing, she told me during one of our check-in calls. The house is locked, his clothes are in storage, and he has nowhere to go. I almost feel sorry for him. Almost? Well, he chose to destroy our family for a fling with a married coworker. Some consequences are deserved. Any regrets about moving so quickly? None. The evidence you provided made this easy. My lawyer says most affairs are much harder to prove, but David and Jessica documented everything so thoroughly that it's an open and shut case. Good for you, Linda. What about you? What are you going to do when Jessica gets home? She's not coming home. I've already told her not to come to the house. Where will she go? That's not my problem anymore. Sunday afternoon, I got one final call from the cruise ship. This time, Jessica sounded broken. Mike, we dock tomorrow morning. Please, I'm begging you. Let me come home so we can talk face to face. I know I've made mistakes, but surely we can work through this. No, Jessica. What do you mean, no? I mean, our marriage is over. You made that choice when you decided to cheat on me with David Chen. You made that choice when you lied to me for months. You made that choice when you booked a romantic cruise with another man and called it a girls' trip. It wasn't romantic. We haven't slept together. Do you think that matters? You emotionally betrayed our marriage, you financially betrayed our marriage, and you were planning to physically betray our marriage. The only reason you didn't get all the way there is because I caught you first. Please, Mike, I love you. I choose you. David doesn't mean anything to me. If David doesn't mean anything to you, why are you sharing a cruise cabin with him instead of sleeping in your own bed next to your husband? She couldn't answer that. Jessica, I want you to listen to me very carefully. When you land tomorrow, don't come to our house. I've changed the locks, and if you show up, I'll call the police for trespassing. You can't kick me out of my own home. Actually, I can. The house is in my name only, remember? You insisted on that when we bought it for tax reasons. The silence told me she'd forgotten that detail. Where am I supposed to go? You could try David's place. Oh, wait, his wife locked him out too. I guess you'll have to figure it out together. Mike, please. Goodbye, Jessica. My lawyer will be in touch. I hung up and turned off my phone. The cruise was over. Time for the real consequences to begin. Jessica approached the front door first, David hanging back by the taxi like he was planning a quick escape. She tried her key, and when it didn't work, she pounded on the door. Mike, I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk. I opened the door but kept the chain latched, creating just enough space to see her face. Jessica. Mike, thank God, please let me in. We need to discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss. I told you not to come here. This is my home too. No, it's not. The house is in my name and you no longer live here. Her face crumpled. Please, Mike, I have nowhere else to go. You should have thought of that before you decided to cheat on your marriage. David finally approached, looking uncomfortable but trying to project authority. Look, Mike, I think we all need to calm down and talk this through rationally. I almost laughed. David, I don't think you're in any position to give advice about handling this rationally. How's Linda, by the way? His face went white. We're working things out. Really? Because I heard she filed for divorce and changed the locks on your house, too. Seems like you're both homeless now. Jessica's eyes widened. David, you said Linda was just upset, but that you could fix things. I can fix things, David said quickly, but his voice lacked conviction. Can you? Because I also heard you've been suspended from work, pending an HR investigation. Something about misusing company time and resources for your affair. The look of horror that crossed both their faces was deeply satisfying. How do you know all this? Jessica whispered. Because unlike you two, I don't live in a fantasy world where actions don't have consequences. I know about the HR investigation because they reported your affair. I know about Linda's divorce because I'm the one who told her about your cruise. You what? David stepped forward aggressively, but I held my ground behind the door. I sent Linda copies of your text messages and booking confirmations. I thought she deserved to know where her husband really was while she was home taking care of your children. Jessica sank onto the front steps like her legs had given out. Mike, how could you do that? How could I do that? Jessica, you've been lying to me for months. You booked a romantic vacation with another woman's husband and called it a girls' trip. You made me look like a fool while you planned to destroy our marriage. And you're asking how I could tell the truth? You've ruined everything, David shouted. We were trying to handle this carefully to minimize the damage to everyone involved. Handle this carefully? By lying to your spouses and sneaking around behind our backs? By planning your affair like it was a business strategy? We were going to tell you both after the cruise, Jessica said desperately. We were going to sit down with you and Linda and explain our feelings and try to work out an amicable solution. An amicable solution where you got to keep your financial security while exploring your new relationship? Where you got to have your cake and eat it too? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You wanted to test drive your affair to see if it was worth leaving your marriages for. And you wanted to do it on my dime while keeping me as your backup plan. The taxi driver honked his horn impatiently, clearly ready to leave this domestic drama behind. Jessica, you have 5 minutes to get whatever personal items you can carry, and then you need to leave, I said. Anything else can be handled through lawyers. Mike, please. We've been together for 8 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me, right up until you decided it meant nothing to you. I opened the door enough for her to slip inside, but kept David on the porch. He's not coming in, I said, when Jessica looked back at her lover. But he has nowhere to go. Neither do you. You'll figure it out together. Jessica grabbed a suitcase and frantically stuffed it with clothes, toiletries, and important documents. She was crying the entire time, but I felt nothing. The woman who had been my wife was already gone. This was just a stranger collecting her things. I'll get the rest of my stuff later, she said, as she dragged her suitcase to the door. No, you won't. Anything you leave behind gets donated to charity next week. This is your only chance. She took one last look around our living room, at the photos of our wedding and vacations and happy moments that now felt like lies. I really did love you, Mike. I still do. No, you didn't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have betrayed me so completely. The next few weeks brought a parade of revelations that made Jessica and David's situation progressively worse. But the most damaging discovery came when the accounting department flagged unusual expense reports. Jessica had been claiming overtime pay for hours she'd supposedly worked late on the new marketing campaign. According to her timesheets, she'd been in the office until 10 p.m. at least twice a week for the past 2 months. The problem was that building security logs showed her leaving at normal hours on those same days. She'd been lying about her overtime to collect extra pay while actually spending those evening hours with David. The expense fraud investigation led to criminal charges. Jessica was facing potential jail time for theft by deception. I can't believe she was stealing from her own company to fund her affair, my lawyer said during one of our meetings. The evidence just keeps getting worse for her. What does this mean for the divorce? It means she has no leverage whatsoever. Adultery is bad enough, but adultery combined with criminal fraud? She'll be lucky to avoid prison, let alone get any assets from the marriage. David's situation was even worse. The IT department had discovered that he'd used his administrative access to delete security footage from the days he and Jessica had used empty conference rooms for their trysts. Tampering with company records was a felony. He'd also been accessing Jessica's computer remotely to help her cover their tracks, which violated about 6 different cybersecurity policies and potentially some federal laws about unauthorized computer access. Linda Chen called me with updates on his legal troubles. David's been arrested, she said. Computer crimes, fraud, theft of services. His lawyer says he could be looking at 2 to 5 years in prison. Jesus, how are you holding up? Honestly? I'm relieved. For months, I thought I was going crazy. David was gaslighting me, making me think I was paranoid and controlling when I questioned his behavior. Finding out I was right all along, it's validating. What about the kids? They're resilient. My oldest has been asking why Daddy can't come home, but my lawyer says with David's criminal charges, I'll likely get full custody anyway. I'm sorry they have to go through this. Don't be. David chose this. He chose your wife over his family, and now he gets to live with the consequences. The consequences kept mounting. Both Jessica and David were terminated from their jobs for cause, which meant no severance pay and no positive references. The company was also considering civil action to recover the money they'd stolen through fraudulent expense reports and time theft. Their affair, which had started as a romantic escape from their mundane marriages, had become a criminal conspiracy that destroyed everything they'd worked for. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Without Jessica's constant stress and negativity, I found myself more productive at work, healthier at home, and generally happier than I'd been in years. I'd forgotten what it felt like to trust the people in my life completely. My friends and family rallied around me once they learned the truth about Jessica's affair. The people who'd initially questioned my harsh reaction to her girls' trip were now apologizing for not supporting me more strongly. I can't believe we thought you were overreacting, my sister said during a family dinner. Fraud and computer crimes? She wasn't just cheating, she was becoming a criminal. The signs were there, I replied. I just trusted her enough not to see them. Do you regret that? Trusting her? I thought about it. I regret that she wasn't worthy of that trust, but I don't regret being the kind of person who gives it freely. That's who I want to be. Even after everything she put you through? Especially after everything she put me through. I refuse to let her betrayal turn me into someone suspicious and bitter. 6 weeks after the cruise, Jessica called me from a number I didn't recognize. Mike, please don't hang up. What do you want, Jessica? I need to talk to you, face to face. There are things you need to know about what really happened. I know what happened. You had an affair, you lied to me for months, and you committed fraud to fund your betrayal. What else is there to know? It's about David, and about why I really started seeing him. Something in her voice made me pause. She sounded different, smaller, more broken than I'd ever heard her. What about David? Can we meet somewhere? Please? I promise I'm not trying to manipulate you or get back together. I need you to understand some things before everything goes to trial. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown. When I arrived, I barely recognized the woman sitting in the corner booth. Jessica had lost at least 15 pounds, and not in a healthy way. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and she looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. This wasn't the confident, radiant woman who'd left for her girls' trip 6 weeks ago. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down across from her. You have 15 minutes. Mike, I need you to know that I never intended for any of this to happen. The affair, the lies, the fraud, none of it was planned. Jessica, I have the text messages. You planned that cruise for weeks. The cruise, yes, but not the rest of it. Not the stealing or the cover-ups or any of it. Then how did it happen? She took a shaky breath. David. David isn't who I thought he was. When we first started getting close, he seemed so different from you. Exciting, spontaneous, dangerous in a way that felt thrilling. And once we started the affair, he became controlling. He convinced me that we needed to be more careful, more thorough in covering our tracks. He's the one who suggested I claim overtime hours to explain why I was staying late. He's the one who deleted the security footage. You're blaming David for your choices? No. I'm trying to explain that he manipulated me into deeper and deeper deception. Every time I wanted to slow down or tell you the truth, he'd convince me that we were in too deep to stop. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or self-pity. What I saw instead was genuine fear. What happened on the cruise, Jessica? The first few days were nice, romantic, like I'd imagined. But when our credit cards got declined and David's wife started calling, he completely changed. He became angry, paranoid. He blamed me for not being more careful, for not covering our tracks better. And when he realized his marriage was over and his job was gone, he started talking about how this was all my fault, how I'd seduced him away from his family and destroyed his life. The irony was staggering. He seduced you away from your marriage too. I know. But David has a way of rewriting history to make himself the victim. By the end of the cruise, he was acting like I'd forced him into the affair. Where is he now? I don't know. After we got back and you wouldn't let us in the house, we got a hotel room. But the next morning, I woke up and he was gone. He'd taken my remaining cash and just disappeared. So your great love abandoned you the moment things got difficult. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I gave up everything for him. My marriage, my job, my home, my reputation. And he left me with nothing. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know that I understand now what I threw away. You would never have abandoned me like that. Even when I hurt you, even when I betrayed you, you were still more honorable than David ever was. That doesn't change anything, Jessica. I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness or reconciliation. I needed you to know that I understand the magnitude of what I lost. We sat in silence for a moment. Despite everything she'd done to me, I felt a flicker of pity for the broken woman across from me. What are you going to do now? I asked. My lawyer says I'll probably get probation for the fraud charges if I plead guilty and make restitution. I'm staying with my sister, looking for work, trying to figure out how to rebuild my life from nothing. And David? David has vanished. The police are looking for him. He violated his bond conditions by leaving the state. Linda thinks he might have fled to Mexico. So he abandoned his children too. Yes, along with everything else. I finished my coffee and stood to leave. Mike? What? I know this doesn't matter now, but I want you to know that I loved you. Really loved you. What I felt for David was infatuation, excitement, the thrill of doing something forbidden. But what we had was real. If it was real, why did you destroy it? Because I'm an idiot who confused excitement with love and threw away the best thing in my life for a fantasy. I looked at her one last time. This woman who had been my wife, my partner, my best friend for 8 years before she became a stranger who betrayed everything we'd built together. Goodbye, Jessica. Goodbye, Mike. I hope you find someone who deserves you. I walked away from that coffee shop and never looked back.